All right, hello Mythic Dungeon League viewers. We are here today to kick off our very first episode of Keystone Kindergarten, which I think Scrap, that was you that came up with that idea, is that right?
Yeah, I thought it was a cute idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. As you guys know, I am drahciR, also known as Frank the Tank, joined here by Scrapclaw and Garreyn. They're going to help us look at this dungeon from not only my perspective as a tank, but also Scraps as a DPS and Garreyn's as a healer. We're also joined by, God, you already corrected me this on, I'm going to say Cheney, but it's not. It's Shani. What was it?
Shawnee.
Shani. I'm sorry.
Shawnee boy.
I'm sorry, Shani boy. And also Sarah. Sarah, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right, good. We are going to have a lot of fun. So the goal of the video is really just to show everyone, especially from a tanking perspective, because it's my opinion that if you know how to tank the dungeon, you know how to do everything else in the dungeon. We're going to show you all the mobs to keep your eye on. We're going to show you the bosses. We'll call out some of the abilities you should be keeping an eye out for interrupts or just for dodging. I should note that we are running this on a 10, simply for the fact that we wanted to make this video and we wanted to slow down and be able to show things without having to worry about the actual timer. But again, our goal here is to show you what it would look like on a 15 because the fixes are the same. The only real difference is it hits almost twice as hard. Before we jump in, though, we're going to review the route using the Mythic Dungeons tool. And Halls of Atonement is a unique dungeon because it's very front-loaded with a lot of the trash. In fact, you're going to hit 80% before you even do your first boss. Now, I should note that we are going to go use the skip route. The goal here is to make sure that we get to 80% before the first boss so we can hero on the second boss. And then the rest of the trash is kind of just a very straightforward process. So most people, when they do this in dungeon, they take a right here at the start. And they go on ahead and move them to this first, whatever this guy's name is, Shroud of Halkis. These three guys right here, 1, 2, 3, need to be killed before you can engage the first boss. So kind of have to clear all this trash, and then clear all this trash, and then work your way into the boss over here. And then, of course, we'll skip using either a Shroud or an Invispot to the second boss. And like I said, you'll also see that it's pretty straightforward from there. From here to the third boss, and then finally this set of trash to the final boss. So, I don't think there's anything much else to say until we get into it. Garreyn, Scrap, or anyone else for that matter, you guys have anything you want to share before we jump in?
Nope, ready. Love this dungeon.
Cool.
Let's go.
And as always, we'll put the route in the description on YouTube, as well as anything else like maybe a weak aura that you might want to have just in case. Of course, Deadly Boss mods is always a must. And I also have Healbot over here just for anyone that might mind wondering why. Just to make sure I can quickly bop Scrap as she always is requiring it. And you'll also see up here in the corner, you'll see my interrupt tracker to see who's interrupting. But outside of that, let's get started. I'm going to go put the key in, and we'll jump straight in.
I'm going to answer some questions that we have in chat here. So Mythic Dungeon Tools is an add-on that you can get from your favorite add-on supplier. I don't know where to get them. CurseForge, maybe. And routes are important. I'm not the guy to speak on that. I think people focus them way too much at this point with our gear levels. Yeah, with most gear levels at this range. The Prideful shouldn't necessarily be the difference maker in your entire run. If you're relying on that, you already have problems. They shouldn't be that close.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
I don't, and I don't think anybody
I wish we already had the cold take emoji up.
Yeah.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Scrap. You go on and...
I was gonna say, I like how Frank just talks about how we're gonna walk you through the route, and Garreyn just comes in like
not important at all.
It's not that it's not important. I just think that there's a little too much reliance on the route. A bad Prideful, if the run goes completely smooth, the Prideful shouldn't be the thing that makes your run timeable. If it is,
I'm already rolling
there's other things that's wrong. So your DPS might be too low or something, but just getting those exact prides everywhere should not be the entire difference maker of your run. So they're important, but I don't think they're the end all be all as some people make them out to be.
Mute his mic.
I completely disagree, and not because you're not wrong in that sense. The reason why is obviously this video is built for people who are getting KSM, and obviously this late into an expansion you might argue, well, you just get more DPS. It's not that simple, especially if you're a tank pugging, and that's really where these videos come in to help. Is the tanks that are pugging, who don't get to communicate with their DPS, who have to randomly find them. The route matters, especially to a lot of people who will sit there and judge the tank for incorrectly getting the pride where they don't want it. And I especially say that because this is a good example of one of those dungeons, as I see Garreyn just fall off to his death. One of those dungeons where it's a tyrannical week. Boss number 2, especially on Tyrannical Week, is a pug killer. So having either the Pride or the Hero at the right time makes a world of a difference. In this case, it's Hero, because you're going to have 80% of the trash before we get there. So again, I wholeheartedly disagree. And
I think we have different perspectives of how we're looking at the
Well,
Prideful. So.
I'm going to say, Garreyn, when you're done, use this video of the tank, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm gonna have somebody else tank. I'm a healer. I've retired from tanking. I retired from that back in Lich King.
All right. So for this first set of mobs, you're gonna have 2 Dark Blades, the Hunter. I can't remember what his name is, but 2 Dark Blades, the Hunter, and 2 of these little dogs. The dogs are the highest priority. However, you want to focus making sure that these Dark Blades are turned away from the group, because if they're not, people like Scrap are going to get stabbed right in the face, and you're going to have to bop them.
Are you trying to get me?
I'd also like to point out that one of our affixes this week is quaking. So, you know, with all melee...
No. Is it quaking?
We're
It's volcanic.
It's absolutely
Quaking.
quaking. Do you not see the fel meter
No,
that says quaking?
You're right. Yep, I just see it now. I thought it was volcanic, which is already a mistake on my behalf. I do want to call out, though, that I didn't get a chance to. Those little hounds that are with the archer, not only do they enrage because the archer will cast a spell on them that enrages them to 125% additional damage, but because this week's affix is also raging, they'll also get an additional 100%. So on a week like this, you definitely cannot let them live longer. They need to be the priority.
Can I give a tip?
Yes,
on the
please.
dogs?
Please.
When they get big, or when the tank takes too many bleed stacks, you can, as a DPS, help slow stuff.
Yes.
A lot of classes have AoE slows. Like in that first pack, I used Piercing Howl. Other helpful ones, like the Hunters. What is the trap called? It's like Tar Trap.
Yep.
Tar Trap.
Consecrate, things like that are really going to help them out, because they need
You
to
can
kite them.
also stun the Loyal Beast cast, which stops them from raging in the first place, but that can be quick to catch.
Now,
Yeah, it's really quick.
You can
Stunned it.
soothe the bears also.
Yes.
Taking the absolute piss out of me with this group comp. Quaking, dude.
That was your one use.
Anyway, as far as we have some more questions, yeah, it does. Certain dungeons, this one, Halls of Atonement, if our certain Venthyr here would have grabbed that gargoyle back there.
Forgot.
Yeah, I know. We could have called that out. But some Covenant abilities will make certain dungeons easier or give you a benefit. So this one, you can actually charm some enemies, and they will add a lot to your DPS. So yeah, you just kind of look for the... Blizzard did a good job giving everybody a unique shout out with their factions.
I was going to use it for that dog pack, because it's harder than that double obliterator pack, but then I was talking and I forgot.
But you were talking.
Yep.
all right, so we timed this purposely because this Pride is going to come right before we take on one of those shards. Those shards, on a fortified week, it's tyrannical this week, so thanks. It's very useful to have it. Now, for those of you who are watching this for the first time and don't know what the Pride is, this is a Season 1 affix. By the time you're watching a video, it may be already off the Season affix. But essentially, you get a little mini heroism for completing the pull. And I want to call out real quick because we murdered it, but that collector right there is a priority for tanks, not for the DPS, but only for the tanks because it has a cast called Collect Sins. That Collect Sins will not only do an AoE burst damage, but it also summons adds. And again, the adds aren't a huge deal, but they're kind of a pain in the butt. So you don't want those adds coming out, especially while you're dealing with AoE from that shard of a
you can really pad your meters by not kicking that.
Sure. All right, so these little guys right here, they look not that bad, but they actually have a spell, like a spell. I don't even know if they have a cast bar for it that can slam the tank pretty hard for like I think it's 8,000 damage without any of the affixes.
It's called Bonk, dude.
Bonk, yes, that's
Is it really?
Yep.
Yeah, a Bonk.
That's
Oh,
funny.
look at this. Is Answer pulling?
I'm helping you out, dude.
I thought you said you don't tank.
So I wanted to call out this group because this Curse of Obliteration thing that he casts is really nasty. Unfortunately, I can't decurse it, but if you're a heal spec that can, or a mage, please do that. It helps your healers and it makes your runs very smooth.
Or just
on
kick
high
it.
fortified weeks, it's really bad.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you'll see here this obliterator in a second is probably going to cast it.
Oh, I didn't get hit. I'm trying to be really good.
Yep.
For
So
the
again,
camera.
watching the Dark Blade with its thrust while the obliterator... These guys usually come in a pair. I kind of think about running a 10. We're moving a little too fast on this.
Yeah, maybe we should have done a 15. I'll slow down.
That's
Wait,
all right,
no,
that's-
Kenny just passed me. I have to speed up again.
But anyways, so this pull right here is going to be pushing us over the 40% mark. So I'm going to pull them all together just because, again, with the 10, we're actually doing pretty fine right now. But I'm going to stun this guy instead of interrupting him. There was the curse that was going out on the obliterator. And then, of course, the
So
shard.
Scrap would
Yeah,
want
but I mean-
Scrap would want to get out, where she wants to focus on her damage, so she's gonna blow us up.
in.
And I'm going to bring... One thing I love about being a paladin tank is all the interrupts that I have to bring things back in. You know, a lot of people talk about Death Knights being able to pull. But honestly, with the amount of not only my Divine Toll, but also with just my shield and my General Interrupt, it's pretty amazing. All right, so...
As far as for a healer call out, drahciR is really nasty.
Yes.
If you're a ranged DPS, which unfortunately we don't have, you can actually outrange that and just run away, and it will completely make your healers' lives easier. But for melee, just try to use something like a feint or a divine protection, whatever it's called for paladins, and you're good to go.
Watch me.
So watch the Pridefuls there. You'll see that they got the little orbs pushing out of their way.
Oh, can I give a warrior tip?
Yep.
You can spell reflect the orbs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Despite
I had it down.
despite people's efforts to
Yep.
tell you otherwise.
Yeah, there's a couple things in these dungeons you can spell reflect. If I think of one, I'll call it out.
All right, we're gonna slow down here for a second because this could be a nasty pull. We got a patrol over here. We also have these guys right here, but also patrol behind them. You want to be very careful not to pull too much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna throw judgment to pull these guys off to the side, and then interrupt, get everyone out of the way, and you should be able to DPS like normal. Scrap's gonna pick this guy up because she's a Venthyr. There she goes. She's got it.
Loyal Beast is going off.
I'm gonna make sure that I'm pointing everyone away again because of that.
Need me to run?
Why don't you keep following me, Scrap?
You're good. You're walking under me, not me.
Darkblade is still thrusting. These guys are going down quick. Again, we may need to reconsider this. So
It's pretty
That's
hard.
actually a really
Yeah.
good question about the rage with the dogs. If they do, I'm sure they do. So if they're double stacking the loyal beast stack rage from bolstering
Yes,
or
that's-
enraging
that's
from
the
Yeah,
their
they do.
epics, then that's super nasty for the tanks.
yes,
And
it absolutely is.
oof.
That's why you want to make sure that you have somebody to slow it down so you can kite it. And also, how many bleed stacks can you take, Frank?
Well, okay. So as a paladin, but also a
Oh,
dwarf
God.
paladin, my my curing ability to be able to use my potion, whatever it's called, the Vial of Serenity, but also stone form means that I've got kind of an unlimited amount. One thing I want to call out real quick while we're on this. You notice how I didn't pull the shard this time because I knew that Prideful for 60% was going to be coming right here. So I pulled only those two guys. Again, as a paladin, I'm able to bring them over without pulling this other pack. On a really high fix, especially fortified, that might be just too much for the team, and a healer's probably not going to be very happy with you about doing that.
I'm not happy about all these spell meters going. If anybody's watching the chat and they see my blue text, which they barely can't, yeah, we've got a lot of people getting hit by quaking, which is really bad.
Sometimes you gotta. I see your mana and I'm like, he can take it.
Yeah, he's not doing anything. We're moving so fast, this thing's going to be done in like seconds.
Yeah, for our next one, maybe we'll do a 13 or a 14.
No, we're definitely going to do a 15.
Or just straight up 15, okay?
Yep.
We might wipe, though.
Why would we wipe?
That would be pretty embarrassing.
This says Keystone Kindergartner. It doesn't say Keystone carries.
Hey, I'm
All right,
learning too.
After
for my
getting this
tank
pack, I'm going to go and pull these guys again. They can be threatening, but they're not usually. And then we got 2 Obliterators and 2 Darkblades here. Make sure you're careful about putting everything away from your melee. So I'm going to tuck myself in this corner right here. I'm going to go ahead
Sucks, dude. Your trinket procced and you didn't get to use it.
What?
Your cathenator thing.
Cathenator?
I
You
don't
didn't
have
see
a I don't have a cathenator.
Hey, dude, I just watched you use it, dude.
What?
It's just imagining.
Decanter of Animal Charge wins. You didn't. Yeah.
Just
Don't even know what your trinkets do.
All
I'll
right,
teach you
so
rules.
I don't know what he's talking about. Anyways, Houndmaster's usually going to be the one I prioritize here because if it goes ahead and enrages those 2 dogs, things are just going to get out of hand quickly. So I'm going to stun it now so it doesn't get that cast off, while also focusing on this Obliterator for my interrupts. Usually the DPS would be smart enough to go ahead and work on those interrupts since they can get them. I'm going to go ahead and start kiting. Now, one thing I should point out, on a fortified week and on a plus 15 week, you definitely should consider kiting because these guys are just so nasty. Alright, it is of my opinion that you do not use hero on this boss. This boss is not necessarily a DPS check. Because if you do the mechanics right, everything's fine.
Oh, can I give a tip?
Yep.
You also don't want to use battle pots on this boss. Because
Yes, because
You're gonna need to battle pots and invis pots share the same cooldown.
All right,
So you don't want to do that.
real
Unless
quick.
you have a rogue.
For anyone that doesn't know this boss, there's going to be a circle around him. You have to be inside that circle at all times. He's going to drop shards on the ground. That's going to be very important for his phase 2 where he starts doing essentially a helicopter blade spinning. I'm going to show you guys how to tank it to maximize the space before you have to move. You want to keep an eye on his energy bar which is right here on my UI. So let's go ahead and pull. We'll take a look at what goes on. Sorry for wasting the the pride.
Yeah, no
Not
problem.
needed
We don't
at all.
need it.
We
We're
don't
fine.
need it. All right, so
Unbelievable.
I
I'm
notice how I
trying to look
point him
good.
away. Notice I point him away, and I'm gonna now just kind of stand on the edge of this. Usually, if I have a range, they might get targeted by this swirl. I'm gonna come up to the opposite side here. I'm watching the energy meter here in the bottom. When he gets to about 75%, I'm gonna start kiting. Now watch out melee, because I don't want you guys to get hit by it if he gets hit. All right, he had one more. Now I'm gonna start moving him. I'm gonna kite him out, move him over here, so no one has to worry about that when he does this helicopter. It's already outside. There's plenty of space, and boom, we can just walk around. DPS. No one's hurt. Everyone's happy. Oh wow, that's actually on 45. Oh, Ansel, Jesus.
I was just showing how the chat how much damage it does.
Yep.
It's not,
So this is a
can't play with it.
tyrannical week. This guy's gonna have a lot of health. Now I'm gonna rinse and repeat this. So this one's the first one that went down. I'm gonna go on ahead and boom, move again. Again, with a lot of melee, this is going to be fine. All right, he's gonna go in and start pulling this in a second. So I'm gonna move him over here now, just because I expected it.
If you get out of the red circle, this is what happens.
Put him on top of it. No, don't do that. Don't show him.
Yeah, the healer. Great.
All right, move him in the middle a little
You
bit.
get feared if you go outside. I have bubble, guys. I know what I'm doing.
We'll see.
Oh, I was gonna say, I guess he just straight up skipped it, but there it is. Okay. Rinse and repeat. If you guys have to, you can move not only from this area right over here on the where we were, but you can start moving into this lane that we already carved out with the other trash, and then back up to the stairs, and everything should be fine. All right. We are going to Shroud, but if you need to, you can always Invis-a-Pot through this. Remember when you guys
Ready?
see someone Shroud? Yes,
Go,
please.
go.
When you see someone Shroud,
Go,
you
go.
cannot get near the other mobs in the area because they can pull.
Oh, nasty. This sucks.
No, break us
Luckily,
out.
this guy is currently as a
Oh, we pulled him
no,
anyway.
no, he's
No,
okay.
he didn't pull. He just looked.
He left.
Okay.
He got spooked. All right,
Run
this is the
him
fight
lightly.
you want to use hero on. Before we pull it, he's going to jump out of this doorway right here. Kind of a tank and spank for a little bit. He'll put little blood pools on the ground. Not so much a big deal, except for melee, which, again, we're all melee today. What the real part of the fight is that... Oh, we have a fall. Awesome. Is that 6 adds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are going to spawn out of these little doorways. Again, as a tank with Divine Toll, I can easily pull them up to me. Other tanks, you guys are going to have to figure out how to do that. But you need to get him clustered up on the boss as quickly as you can, because he's going to throw out a Curse of Stone on one of the 5 people in the group. The Curse of Stone can be a Hand of Freedom or any other movement freeing effects. However, the curse still applies, and he will jump on that person and smash all the gargoyles that are dead. They have to be dead to be smashed. He will also apply a very nasty debuff on the person he hits. So you don't want 2 people taking that debuff. I'll show you guys what we mean when we go and pull. So here we go. Everyone ready?
Yep.
Watch him yeet me. Boom. Yeets me. I'm now going to go on ahead. Come right here in the middle of the room. And here we go. Like I said,
Want
pretty
hero?
simple. Yeah, go in here.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to move him out of that just so the melee have a little breathing room. Here come the ads. That's called Stone
Yes.
Call. I'm going to go on ahead and pull them here with my Divine Toll. You guys are killing them so quickly. There's one off to the side there. All right, here comes Curse of Stone. It is on Sarah, so I'm going to go ahead and hand a freedom Sarah. She's
Wish
by
she'd
herself.
done
Well, it was a little too late. And now we got one more left over here because he was a straggler, so we're just going to try to make sure we position him close. He will probably respawn before the next Curse of Stone. But again, I'm not too worried about it.
I don't think so, actually. I think it works out that you normally get another curse.
It depends on how quickly you kill him.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. So it's at percentages
Yeah,
that it happens then?
see. Well, it's at like timing. It like, goes
I
for...
gotcha.
All right, so I got it. Everyone needs to get out of this. I'll move out of the way, so yeah, I hopefully got...
Good try, Sarah. Good try.
No, he wasn't dead in time. All right, we got to collect all these guys. I don't have Divine Toll for this one, so I'm just going to have to manually do it.
I'd like to
You'll-
say on Blood Torrent, if you haven't mentioned it, it is super nasty on Tyrannical Weeks. On 15s and plus, it will kill you in like 2 ticks.
Yeah, you mean the debuff he leaves on you?
No, the blood on the ground.
Oh,
He will
okay.
target somebody and it ticks immediately. So before the cast is even done, before it's even fully formed, you will start taking damage. On 15s and plus, it could potentially wipe your health out right away.
Good call.
Give a
So
kind
Sarah-
of basic knowledge there. Is
Sarah's
that,
got that debuff, and she's about to die, so I'm just going to do that.
is that when you want to be close to everybody needs to be close to the ads when the Curse of Stone goes off because you don't know who's going to get it.
Yep.
And then when you don't have it, just run away from the ads because you don't want to feel like you're getting chased down by the person who has it. If you run away from the ads, you're definitely going where they're not going.
Correct.
Is what I always do.
When you
Yeah.
pull, Do you want me to blind one of the hunters?
No, just for the sake of the pool, we're gonna do it this way. So 3 dogs, very problematic. This is definitely a kiting pool. I am not a fan of kiting, but with all 3 of them applying dots, what I usually do is, and you'll see right here, I'm gonna make the pull. I'm gonna pull one of them, going ahead and drop my consecration, going ahead and drop divine toll, so I've got plenty of threat. I'm going to drop my consecrate, which slows them, and I'm just gonna walk out the door and go for a stroll. Let the DPS deal
is
with it.
supposed to stay out here.
Yeah, usually the DPS, because just so we call it out, the archers have like a rapid fire or something where they'll. And, let's see if they do it. No, they're not doing it right now. There it is, rapid fire. So that rapid fire is going to be an AoE cone in front of them, and obviously I think someone just stunned them. So they stopped, but that rapid fire can be very deadly on a fortified week. So just make sure you're mindful. I think it chooses a player to make that decision who it attacks, but not a huge deal, obviously, if you just step out of it. Alright, this is a tricky pull. Everyone's going to stay back in this room for this one.
Can you grab the gargoyle for me or no?
Yeah, you can go and grab it. 2 Dark Blades, so the thrusts are a big deal. The Obliterator is going to put out a curse, and this Collector is going to try to collect sins. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to get aggro, interrupt the Obliterator, and now I'm going to watch this Collector right here for when he does collect sins. Now I'm going to pull back into the other room. I'm going to go and just do this.
Oh, we're going all the way back.
There we go. You don't have to. If obviously you got a group in Discord that you're like talking to one another and you're like, okay, I feel confident about this.
I
you
prefer
can do
to just from the camera standpoint,
exactly.
especially if somebody has a gargoyle, you can't see anything, and there's so much crap on the ground.
Especially that's smart during Quaking Week because of all the other
Or
stuff on the
Singing
ground.
Week.
Yeah.
I was always curious as to why we did that, because technically if you pull the gargoyle, then you have one whole side of the room clear. You don't have to go anywhere.
It's only because, and again, this is as built for pugs. I don't trust pugs. They're going to screw it up.
Wait 1 second, I get a new gargoyle.
Yeah. Well, I'll explain the fight while you're doing that. So,
Any
very
pugs
easy
in here,
fight.
I love you, pugs. You're great people.
Very easy fight here. I'm going to get out of this. This boss right here is a tank and spank. The only thing that you need to worry about is interrupting the volley of power, I think it's called, as opposed to the bolt of power. Volley is going to hit everyone, whereas bolt's going to hit the tank. If you got an extra interrupt, go for it, but make sure that volley is the priority. She will spawn a little ghoul figure that's going to chase one of the players in the room. You just need to take it to one of these little canisters here, and it'll get captured by it. Tanks, you want to make sure you tank on top of the canister so that melee get targeted by it. They don't have to run away from the boss. They can continue to DPS. So, let's go and pull. Again, not one of the bosses that you really need to worry about Hero or Prideful for, because it's kind of a tank and spank, and probably one of the easiest, actually, in all of Shadowlands, in my opinion.
If people are doing the mechanic. I mean, if you're doing the mechanic, you will drop quick.
So you saw I interrupted the volley power there, but the bolts of power. I'm going to save... oh, one last thing we need to talk about is that's anima. Again, just throw stuff on the ground. Get out of the way. It might mean melee is going to have to definitely dodge a little bit, but not a huge deal. Volley
So
there.
the ghost that just spawned and fixated on me, one hit I like to learn, or that I've learned about recently, is if you have a taunt class, or any class that can taunt in some way, shape, or form, it will actually speed up the ghost like 100%. So it'll just zoom right to you. Helps
Didn't
with
work.
healing tremendously. Yes, yes, it did.
It moved a little bit. Moved a little bit.
I think it might be one of those things that's just in your head.
Kind of like spell reflecting the boss.
No, that works.
I'm going to go move him to this canister in case someone else gets targeted. There's homeboy, just, there's the volley, interrupt the volley, cool. And again, just so you guys know, there's my interrupt tracker so you can see who's got the interrupt and you can yell at them when they're not interrupting. Ideally...
that's some disrespect, huh?
He's disrespecting.
Frank.
Well, remember, we don't, this chat won't show up on YouTube, so they have no idea what you're talking about. Did someone already use this canister? Oh, poop.
Yep.
As Garreyn was trying to call out, the little ad will do an AoE while he's up, so obviously you want him to go down as quickly as possible. Anima Fountain again, just do some dancing. This guy's over dead. Alright, this next pull is very interesting. There's going to be a main ad in here that's going... Don't go in yet. Oh, well, okay. There's going to be a main ad. Well, I just didn't want anyone's like AoE to cleave off it. Alright, main ad's over here. Mr. Cigar, we'll call him. These ads are going to be essentially drained by him and turned into a different ad. Our goal is to kill these ads before we kill him. Now, in fairness, on lower keys, you can probably just run up to him and try to burn him down as quickly as possible, maybe out DPS that. Not on a 15. I don't think anyone's got the DPS for that. So my recommendation is each DPS either takes a quadrant of the room, or everyone takes the same quadrant and tries to burn it down as quickly as humanly possible. I'm going to say let's just go and do each quadrant together. That way we can also cleave things down together. All right? So we're going to go into this one over here. Yep, 2 consecrates going down. I'm going to go ahead and wait for these ads to come up before I throw my Divine Toll out. All right, there are the ads. They're spawning. And here comes Divine Toll. We're moving over to the other side. Cool. There's one over here we got to get before we move on.
I have trouble not moving on, I would say. Because I like to find the biggest group of ads and just sit in them. But you gotta really get all of them.
Yeah, you really got it. And what's worse is that even if they're at 0.1% health and he does that spell, he's going to get the full effect off of it.
Keep in mind, when you kill these tormented souls, they'll spawn an ad, and that ad will target somebody and stick to them on high fortified weeks. This will just hurt a lot.
They
so
only spawn an ad
hard.
if he summons them. The manifestation of envy is only from when he...
Really?
Alright, so the whole room's clear, right? Yeah, cool. We're going to go and just start kiting this way because we're about to have another Prideful. And I want to be ready to pull the boss that's after this as quick as I can, even though we're going to kind of explain the boss.
It's worth remembering that none of the ads in that room count for any percentage,
Yes,
so
good
you will
call.
never get Prideful in the middle of that, even if you come in at 99%.
Great call, Sarah.
You're learning so much. I'm gonna graduate to Keystone first grade here.
Alright,
I think we're gonna get jump to 2nd grade. We're gonna 2-time this key.
It's given a key.
We're the special kids in class today.
Alright, while we're waiting for this
Except
Pride
Sarah
to
for
die,
getting hit by Pride.
I'm going to call out a couple things on the next boss. The first one is, it's a very nasty dot that the boss is going to put on the tank called Stigma of Pride. You want to save your big cooldowns for this in case your healer can't keep up with it. He's also going to use these statues on the side of the room, and he'll throw them. One little trick to know where that statue is going to go is it will change its face. Like, so let's say I'm the statue. I will look in the direction I'm about to fly. So if you see it facing you, you know it's going to be coming towards you. And be mindful, with 4 melee in the group, you might have all of you guys being targeted by it. At 66% and at 33%, he will also pull all the statues towards him. He will then push them out away from him and connect a line to each of the 4. One player has to intercept a line for each statue, or else massive amounts of AoE is going to go out. And even when you intercept those lines, they hurt each individual player, so still massive amount of AoE, but it's obviously the lesser of 2 evils. Other than that, there's a couple little things he'll do, like maybe an AoE cone in front of him randomly. We'll call it out if we see it as we go. Here we go.
5 seconds of Prideful, guys.
Yeah.
We don't need it. We're giving
Well,
ourselves
we also
a
moved too
hands
quickly
down.
that we're not going to have hero... Well, I guess we'll have it in like 20 seconds here.
Yeah.
In 13
So,
seconds.
Here comes the Stigma of Pride, and again, it's a low key for us. Watch this. This is right through it.
Hit?
I dodged it. So, Unleash Suffering is a cone in front of him. He just does it randomly. Here comes the Door of Shadows at 66%. He's going to pull in all the cones, or the statues. You don't want to get hit by them.
For melee, I like to just walk all the way out when he throws it in and then come in.
So you'll see we got
the
1, 2, 3, 4 people, and we're intercepting all the lines, so none of them are going to the statue. Still getting a lot of damage, but not near as much if I were to, for example... Oh, well, and intercepting away, never mind. Alright, let's expect a Stigma of Pride here again. And again, on a really... there's a Stigma of Pride. I would probably use my Guardians just to kind of help through the healing. I'm going to step out of the way.
Now, for healers,
Oh, I got hit.
for healers on this week on high tyrannical keys, this hurts a lot. So
Yes.
you're going to want to make sure that you're calling out some group utilities such as a Rallying Cry or whatever to give your healers a help because it's really bad.
You said Rallying Cry. I did it.
Little early, but I'll take it.
Alright, and Scrap is bopped.
Am I? Hell yeah.
Doesn't help her, it's magical damage.
I know.
Oh, really? I don't actually know what Bob
Watch
does.
out. Oh, I guess someone let that one go a little early.
Yeah, my bad.
Alright, Stigma on the tank again. Again, I'll use another different cooldown. Watch out for this.
Nah.
Everybody got hit.
You guys are getting sloppy
Give her a
here.
bop and she gives us death.
This
We
is
love
just
to see
a
it.
circular AoE. You don't want to be standing in it. Again, these telepaths are usually pretty easy to catch. Watch out for the statue. Scrap
What?
gets hit by it again.
I was basically out of it.
And like that, boom, Halls of Atonement complete. Let's see, did we plus 2 it? Yeah, only +2. That's kind of sad, actually.
There is the winner.
Well, to be fair,
I
we
won.
spent about a minute each boss explaining, so we lost about 4 minutes.
I guess so. Um,
And all that
This
pride
is
that we didn't get.
where I put in my disclaimer that I normally tank and don't have to
yeah,
dodge
yeah.
things
Sarah,
quite the same way.
we knew Sarah was gonna be a resource that we couldn't live without, so she just went rep for us on this one. So, like, just to summarize things really quickly, first off, Garreyn and Scrap, what would you guys rate this on a scale of, let's say, 1 to 8, 8 being the easiest and 1 being the hardest,
So
of the 8 dungeons
I would
of
say
Shadowlands?
you said 1 being the easiest.
1 being the hardest.
Oh, 1 being the hardest. I would give it like a 2 or a 3, honestly. Not because any of the mechanics are particularly hard, but just because you have to hustle because the timer is so tight.
Yeah.
Like you saw, Frank was recommending pulling mobs like multiple packs at a time. You literally have to do that to keep up with the timer on a hierarchy.
Yeah, I agree.
I would actually disagree a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I find that this one is actually one of the easier ones. I think a lot of the difficulty rating of these dungeons comes down to personal preference. But this is actually the first 15 I ever timed.
Same, actually, it's the first 15 me and Garreyn have timed also. That was the first one we got.
You definitely have to be on the whole time, I think. There's not a lot of room for mistakes, but it's not as punished.
I will say this is the only dungeon I've ever not timed without any wipes. So that's kind of indicative of how tight the timer is that you can, play fairly well, but just not quick enough and not pulling enough at a time and still miss the timer.
I mean, so Garreyn, what do you think?
I don't know. It's a mixed bag for me. Sometimes I think this place is really hard, and sometimes I think it's easy. One of the things I'd like to call out is if you don't have, I'm glad we've seen this from a tanks perspective, because I think the tanks really make or break your run. And more so with this dungeon, because
Along
the
with the
dog
routes.
kiting has to be spot on. Even one misstep or one bleed too many, you're potentially dead. And if a tank dies on those dogs, you can't really save it if they're enraged. They're gonna just take out all your melee
gonna
DPS as opposed to
smash.
what some other people can do. Right. So I would give it maybe a 3. I think the timer's really tight.
So third hardest?
I agree with Sarah. Everybody has to be on the whole way through, and that means with pumping out the DPS, with tanks being on their kiting game, and with doing the mechanics correct, because sometimes one DPS down is just not recoverable.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, this is the one that stresses me out the most, because I do believe that it can be very easy. There are weeks, though, on Fortified, especially with things like if we were doing a 15 right now and we had Raging, those dogs would be a constant threat, no matter what. I would have to be kiting for days. And there's even a point with Quaking as well, that because I got hit by someone's Quaking, or I hit myself, whatever, that was another 30% of my health. When I have 4 or 5 stacks of bleed going, because I'm not a paladin, dwarf paladin that can wipe all these things off, it can be very scary. I think.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
I think you just answered it. Is it harder on Fortified or Tyrannical?
Fortified. I think this is a fortified harder week.
Yeah.
Tyrannical is definitely challenging, but if you have the DPS to push, it's not a challenge, right? I think that the mechanics to the bosses themselves are pretty straightforward. Most of them are just races. Actually, I'd even argue the first 2 are the only ones that are races. The last 2, Tyrannical with that last boss and all the AoE going out, but you got a couple of, you only need to probably have 3 cooldowns between the whole group to be able to survive it. And honestly, even if you get like a mage with ice block, that just helps the healer not have to worry about 1/4 of the group. It can be the difference of, this is fine, we can handle it.
I would like to say one thing that I think I'm agreeing with Blizzard on is next patch we're getting the in-game scores for doing them on Tyrannical and Fortified. I think for healers, Tyrannical week is a little bit tougher because that second boss is nasty. That curse and just all the damage that can go out if the DPS isn't fast enough adds up quick. It's tough to keep up with, especially if you're a healer that doesn't have the AoE output that some of the others do. The final boss here, he's not a joke on Tyrannical. If one beam is missed on the hierarchies, everybody's hit points is gone. You're blowing every cooldown you have, and generally you're pushing that same base back to back. If you don't have the group utility, if your people aren't soaking the lines properly, it's fast wipes. And if as we mentioned with how tight the timer on, one wipe, your key's gone.
So I mean, I think that's a good vantage point, right? Like as a tank, Fortified worries me more, but as a healer, and that'll probably be the case for most dungeons, in fairness. But I guess the question I have for you, Garreyn, and I'll ask Scrap and Sarah and not Shady Boy. Shawnee boy. Now it's going to be a forever problem for me now. Is what affix, not a pair of affixes, but what affix is the most concerning for you? We'll start with Garreyn.
I start with me. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, start with Scrap.
All right,
I
Scrap,
have to
go on,
think.
start.
Sorry, I had to think about that.
I hate explosive.
Yeah,
Of course.
well, and I think DPS is always going to hate explosive because it slows you guys down.
I can tell you the list. I hate number 1 explosive, number 2 sanguine, number 3 storming. Oh no, number 3 spiteful.
I think I would go with bursting and sanguine, absolutely, because I think sanguine you really have to rely on everybody getting interrupts off, and you also have to rely on the groups not doing certain mechanics like uninterruptible casts that just full heals them, or if you get really bad in just unlucky, sometimes some of the nastier enemies, let's say the shards from earlier, they could just thrash away in a puddle, and all the work you've done is gone, and that could potentially tank your key as well. Bursting, because we have some DPS in this group that we're running with that don't know what's too much for healers to take, and you get 7 stacks and everybody dies, and they just kind of shrug their shoulders and blame the healer.
Well,
so
I think that's so, like, you know, when I think of bursting, I think of where's the like Spires. I think Spires has like 6 or 7 mobs you can be dealing with at a given time. I think your call out though on sanguine is a huge point, because the shard can't be moved when he's thrashing. The hunter can't be moved unless you have death grip or some sort of like ring of peace. And then of course, even beyond that, you're already stressing about the dogs chasing you and then them healing up with enrage. Yeah, I definitely can see this being a huge problem on sanguine.
Yep, I ran it last week, and it's very easy if somebody's stressing out. Where it's last week was fortified, in sanguine, so I can see a dog running, and there's certain paladins like myself, I'm guilty of it sometimes, where we're panicking and we stun a dog, and the other dog dies, so it's just getting healed that entire time.
All right. Well,
yeah, I do hate to agree with Garreyn, but I think sanguine and bursting are my worst too, because they just require so much management. Especially like sanguine. I know the first time I ever tried to tank a dungeon with sanguine, it was a horrible time.
yeah.
It's, you know, over an hour to finish the dungeon. It's just nasty to handle. It makes things more difficult, which I guess is their goal.
I think honestly we could do an entire video series on sanguine and like what to prioritize. Because ultimately what it boils down to that week is that you're like, okay, well, this is the week I can't move the hunter. This is the week I can't move the shard. So we need to burn them. And then as a tank, I'm going to move everyone else away from them, close enough to cleave, but otherwise, you know, out of the sanguine that would form. All right. Any last thoughts, anyone else?
I forgot how easy 10s are.
Yeah, that was Breeze. We might have to go to 15s again. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe 14s.
Yeah, something. I don't know. All right. Well, with that being said, then, thanks for joining us on this tanking guide, the Keystone Kindergarten on Halls of Atonement. Next week we'll have another video series for you. We'll wait and see what keys we get to help build those videos out. But otherwise, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, we'll see you in the pugs.
See you on the Looking for group.